Hello fellow humans, Millennium Man here with another verbal tutorial, and I got something really exciting to show you. And this is something that I hope will benefit you in your quest to creating comics. I know that benefit me greatly, and it's something that I know you'd be interested in. And this is converting any image in Google SketchUp to use in Manga Studio. Now, I was doing some research trying to figure out how to do this because I've decided to use this character here and start my own comic series. Something that I can make for myself as well as present to any independent comic company or at Comic Cons to show my talents. Now, I made a character model sheet tutorial based on this character. If you haven't watched it, you really should. I think it was real informative. And this character's name is Starfighter. And as I've been writing the script, I saw that there are things in the script, certain backgrounds, certain elements in the background, some things that she interacts with, like say cars, buildings, an alarm clock, that I think would benefit me if I had a model to base the drawings on. Something that I can trace over really quick, put in whatever perspective that I want, make sure it's accurate from all angles. Something that can save me a lot of time as I draw the comic. But unfortunately, when I was looking into it, I learned that Google SketchUp, the free version, does not have a way to convert any file in it to be used in Manga Studio for it to read in the 3D materials. For Google SketchUp, it's in a what they call a SKP format. The only way 3D models can be read in in Manga Studio or Clip Paint Studio, I still call it Manga Studio, it has to be saved in an OBJ format. And unless you own the full version of Google SketchUp, the free version does not come with the compatibility to convert those files for something that Manga Studio can read. But after playing around, testing a few things, I found the workaround. And I'm going to show you right now. First, I'm going to pull up a character that I'm going to show you how I built the model that's going to be transferred here. This is Millennia, another character of mine, and I'm going to show you the 3D version of her sword that she carries with her, named Medalist. Now, since I gave this inanimate object a name, obviously it's going to be important in her mythos. This sword will be to her like Captain America's shield is to him, or Thor's hammer, or Batman's utility belt, Green Lantern's ring. It's something that she uses during her superheroing, if that's a word. It's part of her mythos, it's part of her character, it's part of her costume. And as I was looking at the sword, I realized that this is going to be a kind of weapon that's going to be kind of, challenging to draw from panel to panel. Because I have these cutouts that the sword has, these curved edges, the hilt down here with the gems. It's not a complex sword, but it's not a simple one either. And I wanted to make sure that I have it on model in every panel when I draw it. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the word on model, it's an animation term used, and all it means is that the drawing is consistent in every scene that you draw. So I want the sword to look exactly the same in every panel that the sword is in, and from every angle as well. Since there's a certain spacing involved in the grooves here and the symmetry on both sides of the hilt, the gems and all, I figured the best way to keep this on model all the time is to have a three-dimensional model that I can bring in and just put into whatever perspective I want, just like you can do any 3D model that you pull from the materials folder in Manga Studio. But, like I said, I learned, unfortunately, that in Google SketchUp, at least the free version that I have, you can't save it in a format that Manga Studio can use. And I'm going to show you how you can get around that. So let's punch up Google SketchUp, and as you can see, there's the sword, all done in 3 dimensions. Let me twist it around for you to show you that I'm not lying. So you can see the hilt, the thickness of it, the thickness of the blade, Everything's proportioned, everything's spaced properly. Everything's exactly the way I want it. I'm going to show you really quick the comparison between the two. Now I have to admit, I didn't do this sword in Google SketchUp. A couple years ago I downloaded the program and I promised myself I was going to learn it, but life gets in the way sometimes and I just didn't have the time to really commit to learning this. Hope to one day when I have more time. But one of my children, I have 3 of them, I'm going to use his internet handle name. His name is Pop the Mop. When he first saw Google SketchUp, I don't know what, but it lit a fire in him where he was determined to learn every aspect of this. And 3 years ago he started, and now this kid can make pretty much anything you ask him to. He can make any weapon, any armor, any building. You give him the time, you give him your concept ideas, and he can build it. I am amazed how it naturally came to him, and I'm happy he did, because there's no way I could have done this on my own. It did cost me a little something, you know, kids don't work for free. I had to buy him a bag of chocolate covered almonds. He actually wanted a tub of ice cream, but I think I got the better deal. But I can't thank him enough for doing that for me, and I'm glad to have someone that can help me get to my comic goals. That's actually a family member that I can trust. So Pop them up, thank you very much from the bottom of your father's heart. So as you can see, he did an awesome job. Everything's exactly where it is compared to the 2D drawing. In fact, the way I have the screen set up is the way he did it. I inverted the picture for him and he just went straight to work. And he was able to create this awesome image for me. And now I can use this whenever I want in Manga Studio and put in whatever position that I want. And I'll show you how to do it for yourselves. Now before I begin, I'm going to show you, if I wanted to save this, it saves as a SKP file. This is a file format that Manga Studio just cannot read unless you have the full version, and you'll be able to have access to it. As you can see, if I were to pick the file types, it's all SKP. So I'm going to teach you how you can change this for yourself and use it. First thing you do when you go in is go to Window and go to the extension warehouse. These are extensions that you can add to Google SketchUp to add on features to Google SketchUp, which is great. So all I did was type in OBJ, and all of these file formats came up that you can add on to Google SketchUp to convert whatever you make or whatever you download from their image warehouse into an OBJ file in order to use in a program like Manga Studio. That's simple. I picked this one because I was trying all the other ones, and this one you can just get for free. You just click onto it. As you can see, it's already installed, because if I were to press it now, it would actually uninstall it. In fact, let's see if I can just do it real quick for you. There. Let's install it. I'll press it. I want to install the extension. And now the extension has been added into Google SketchUp for me. Now anything in Google SketchUp I can now convert. You can find it right here. If you go to File, right under Print, you'll find the Lipid OBJ Exporter. And that's what you click in order to convert this into a file format that Manga Studio can read. But there's still a few things you have to do to prep your file before you do the transfer. And really it involves this over here. Now this is just a standing image for any model maker in Google SketchUp to understand the proportions to get it right for human size. So it's not really needed. If I were to take this and convert it right now to a file for Manga Studio, the 3D camera that's used in the 3D models would focus around him because he is on the XYZ axis plane and not the sword. I want to move the sword onto the plane so the camera center around the sword and not him. He's easy to get rid of because all I have to do is press eraser, hit his edge, and he's gone. Now we're going to move this to the access plane. Highlight the entire sword or whatever you made. You can see it's covered in blue dots and lines, which means everything has been highlighted. Then we'll go to, let's see if I can find it here for you, the move tool. Now you have to be very specific in order to get this properly working. Make it easier on myself. I'm going to pick the very bottom tip of the sword because that's going to be the base touching the ground. As you can see, it's highlighted as a green dot called endpoint. You do the first click. Now adjusting your cursor, pulling it out a little further if I can, so I can find the XYZ axis. Then I can drop it there, and if I move the camera, I'll be able to center it a little better. Takes a little patience, but hang in there. Let's go in again. We'll connect the end point of the sword. It's moving now. Darn it. There. I got a better view of it. I can do it a lot easier. Connect the endpoint to the XYZ endpoint. It's going to be highlighted, or there it is, the origin point. And now, if I use the object tool to rotate, you can see now that I have the sword on the XYZ axis. So now the sword is perfectly centered, and when I bring it into Manga Studio, the camera will now face the sword and use the sword as its position, and I can move it around in 3 dimensions accurately. So now that that's done, let's convert the file. So we'll go to File, Lipid OBJ Exporter. So save it in a temporary location in your computer. Don't worry about that. Press OK. I already had it done before, but just wanted to show you that I put it in its own file to make sure it's exactly where I needed it. I just named it whatever you want. There's the OBJ format that we're looking for. We'll press save. Now this prompt will always come up. Ignore backface. Now if you see how it was highlighted, ignore back facing for dual-sided faces. I want to click that because this sword is double-sided. It's mirror images of each other. Perfectly mirror image. So I want that clicked. Now let's say if you're drawing a truck where the front and the back are completely different, you would have to leave that unchecked. So all you have to do is either check or uncheck that box depending on what your model is and what you're making. Press the close button and it will start saving it. And now it's done. So let me just save this and exit out, and I'll bring up Manga Studio again. Let's get a brand new page so I can show you exactly how it can be done. There's our new blank page. Now let's go find the file. You could save it on your desktop or a special file. I decided to make a special file. Makes it easier to find. There it is. Millennium Sword 3D image. So all I have to do is click, drag, little icon pops up on Manga Studio's page. And as you can see, board is now in Manga Studio in 3 dimensions. And I could rotate it. I could tilt it. If you're familiar with the controls on Manga Studio, then this won't be too much of a surprise how you can adjust it. I can even adjust, if I wanted to, the lighting. And that's all there is to it. I can now use this as much as I want, as many times as I want, in any direction that I want, in any perspective that I want. That simple. It's amazing. This is going to save me so much time, and it works on anything that you make in Google SketchUp or anything you download in Google SketchUp. Now there's one thing you need to understand about the OBJ file though. Let's say for instance you downloaded a fighter jet. The model, when you bring it into Google SketchUp, will be moved as a whole. If there's anything that you made that would have moving parts, let's say a car doors have trunks, car doors, car trunks, pop them open, rolling down the windows. Airplanes, you move their wings, their flaps. Anything that has moving parts cannot be moved. The file saves it as one mass object. There's no parent-child relationship. Let's say like the 3D human models where you can move the fingers and the toes and the elbows and shoulders, neck independently. This is now one solid mass object. That's the only negative, but it's a very small negative, at least in my opinion. Having access to your model like this and moving it around in any direction that you want, I think this is more important. I'm not too worried about, independent moving parts. As a whole, as an artist, I can adjust for that. It's not a big deal. So now if I wanted to, I can convert this to a raster layer, trace over it, and use it as many times as I want in my drawings. But I've also discovered another way to convert this into line art to save you the trouble of drawing most of it. Let's say the grayscale is a little bit annoying, you're not too happy with that. You could, if you wanted to, knock out all of that and leave mostly a traced drawing around the image. It's going to need a little tweaking, but it will help you see all the little planes of the construction of the model. That way you can trace over a lot more accurately. You go to Layer Properties with the layer highlighted and press this button here, Extract Line. And now almost all the gray has been knocked out. You can play with some of the settings. This one I'm thickening the line if you wanted to, if I wanted. There's a whole lot of other ways you can play with this to get different effects. But right now, as this is, that would be perfect for me. I can work with this, take my pen tool and draw right on top of it, convert this to a blue line beforehand, and I'll be able to accurately draw the sword. So the workaround is not too hard, actually a lot easier. So if I wanted to right now, I can just click on layer, turn it into a rasterize layer if I wanted to. And now the drawing is a raster layer, and if I wanted to, I can take the rastered layer, revert the blue line, and trace right on top, almost the way you do it in traditional comics. And like I said before, the conversion of this image from Google SketchUp to Manga Studio works for every single object that can be created or downloaded from Google SketchUp. It is awesome. I'm going to show you one more trick involving this. So let me just pull back out Manga Studio here. We got a clean page going. Let's bring in the image again. Okay, we can close that for now. Oh, I think I closed the wrong one. Alright. Now let's adjust this again, like I did before. Okay. Let's back out a little so I can see it a little better. Okay, let's say that's good enough. It's really not about drawing, it's about actually saving the object. All you'd have to do now is come in and find, if I can remember where it is, edit, if I remember correctly. Register image as a material. I think. Now we just look to where we want it to go. Let's put it in 3D images. Let's put it in object if we wanted to. Let's put it in weapons. We'll highlight weapon. It's the image here. I'll leave it as, I'll put it as Malenia's sword 3D image. Make sure weapon is highlighted. I'll press OK. And now you see it there. Now if I were to get rid of this, let's not save it. Now let's say I needed to use a sword. Grab it, pull it, and there it is. Now anytime that I want to use Malenia's sword, I don't have to download it from my computer. It's now saved as a permanent material in the 3D materials section of Google SketchUp. So have fun. Download as much as you want from Google SketchUp, convert it, make a separate file inside the 3D materials folder, and use it as much as you want. It's an awesome shortcut, and I hope you enjoyed learning it. It's going to save me a whole bunch of time now creating my comic. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.